Today we're talking about all things AI. What is it? How do we use it? Where is AI going in the future? And are there areas that are questionable as to whether we should really use AI or not? Is it going to be good for the world? How should Christians view AI? Are pastors, preaching sermons that are written by AI bots? Is that okay or not? Is using it for your homework? All this kind of stuff. We're going to talk about AI and how Christians and leaders should use it as the world moves forward. If you want to hear more, tune in. Hey everybody, welcome to the Allison Park Leadership Podcast, where we have our culture creating conversations. I'm one of the hosts. My name is Dave.
My name is Jeff. Of course, we're father and son and both on staff at Allison Park Church. I'm the lead pastor, Dave's Northside campus pastor, and we are joined with special guest Will host today. So maybe Will, introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Will. I lead a lot of our marketing and communications here at the church. It's an honor to do that. I also run a business that helps many companies and organizations with fractional marketing leadership. So it's very similar to our engagement here, where we're not full-time for the company, but we're part-time, and so we're able to help sort of save some expenses and costs and also provide the strategic direction that a lot of
So your company's name?
Andosha.
And so someone to find you that would do?
Andosha.com.
ANDOCIA.com.
That was perfect.
And so basically, we subcontract to you everything that is in what category?
Well, everything really in the marketing communication space. We have internal people here at the church, obviously, but whatever they don't handle, we handle. And that's really the way that we work with most companies. So sometimes it's everything, sometimes it's pieces of things, but our onboard is typically the leadership piece. They're either they don't have a CMO or they don't have a marketing director or whatever that might look. We come and we sit in that seat, and then we help fill in the gaps by saying, okay, it sounds like you need a website developer. We'll bring a website developer on the team, or social media or media buying, advertising, whatever it might be. We build a cross-functional marketing team around them and then sell them for one monthly cost.
And we've been engaged. So you've been at Allison Park as a part of the church for a while.
Yeah.
We've been engaged with you for what, 5 months now?
5 months, yeah.
It's going amazing. Highly recommend it. Will is incredible, and his team's incredible to work with. And we happened to be at lunch together the other day, and this topic kind of came to the surface, and we thought you have a particular vantage point on this particular issue. So we're going to talk about AI, right? Give us the...
Yeah, okay. So I guess we go in a lot of directions. Maybe we will, but... particularly when we're talking about the church world and Christians, I guess, but probably more the church world. We want to talk about AI and the ethics of AI when it comes to spiritual matters. So quick example, and then we can go wherever we want to go. You were sharing a story about a church, I think, that had a little chat bot at the bottom, and you could click on it and it would, I think this was this you?
No, that was you. Okay. So City Reach Church in Austin, Texas, they told me
tell us about it.
They had a bot that was on there that would answer the questions of the people that were visiting the website. And the bot learned more and more about what the right answers were for the church, and eventually started to answer questions that people had about their faith, and then began to try to lead people to Christ. So
the AI program...
So they basically
chatting people to lead them to Christ.
So basically, at least the philosophy ministry of City Reach was, we don't want the bot doing that. We'd like a person to do that. So they limited it in terms of what its permissions were. And for me, so I don't know much about. I know ChatGPT and how to ask it a couple questions, but I don't know a whole lot about it. But that brings up, there's like a whole world. So there's a lot of different directions. It's ethics. It's the potential good that can happen in ministry. It's the danger points. It's the question: is AI going to take over the world and usher in the Antichrist? I mean, there's a whole bunch of different directions we could end up with. And you are leveraging this right now to help Allison Park Church with its marketing all the time.
Well, let me pitch it to Will.
Yeah.
I want to frame the beginning.
Okay, go ahead.
Because we'll expand from here. So here's sort of the opening. All right. I was just having this conversation with my wife. This is that breaking point. I'm 34, where I'm like, massive shift in technology, and I'm feeling the pressure, like, I have to stay with this because this is where I could start to get left behind, the way that I've watched like older generations have this. Because to be honest with you, I don't really like a lot of it. Like, I know how to, it's like, I understand the basic way, the dumbest way is like a glorified search engine. Type it, it's going to respond like Google would. There's a lot more applications than that. And so for me, I've spent a few months where I'm just trying to make sure that I have a better grasp on it than just the basic functions. But what I wanted to ask Will to start, because I don't know that a lot of people know the full range and the scope of what AI is or what it does. Can you talk to us, like, when we talk about AI, what are people talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I almost had to go through like the 7 stages of loss with it, right? and like, there were times where I was like literally praying fervently that like there would be legislation or something, somebody would,
Why?
It's going to shake things up like crazy.
Okay.
Like it is going to, my prediction, and I think a lot would agree, I think those that disagree don't fully understand it. It's going to be so much more impactful to industry than .com was, than, whatever. So whenever you're, aware of AI, there's always the argument, well, anytime there's a giant invention, it changes the workforce, right? So the printing press changed the way that things were printed and people lost their jobs or had to learn something new, right? Or whatever, the plow was invented, it changed the way that we sickle harvest. It just, it changes jobs. It either gets rid of them or replaces them with something else. This is going to be on such a grand scale. And it's going to happen very, very quickly.
And you really feel it could affect your part of the industry?
It will 100% affect my part of the industry.
Okay.
And so there's that first part where you're fearful around it and you're like, I'm just going to put my head in the sand and hope that this goes away. It's not going away. And 100%, if you don't learn how to implement AI into what you're doing, whether you're a pastor or a business owner or wherever you are in your leadership journey, yeah, you've got to implement it or you're going to get left behind. It would be like trying to do business today without an email address. I think that's how it's going to be in 5 to 10 years.
So I was shocked around the table to find out how many of my staff use IA regularly in their ministry duties. And I was like, really? I didn't know that. So like the younger team, I guess you guys younger than you, Dave, are already adapting to it and using it constantly.
Yeah, so tell us what it is. Tell us what it is.
So AI is essentially an LLM, a learning language model, is what that's a lot of what's driving what we call AI, right? And so it's just, an algorithm that's kind of guessing what the next word in the sentence is going to be based off of the entire internet and its own learning. So it's kind of crazy the way that it works, but it works extraordinarily well, and it's getting better and better every single month because ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, there's so many different LLMs.
Wait. What are those?
Those are completely different companies with completely different LLMs.
Okay, so the LLM we tend to think of as the impersonated robot out there that is AI.
Yes, and they're all kind of
Siri.
Yeah,
although that's not a learning model, it's
built on a learning language model, but they're all kind of good at different things. Claude is phenomenal with copywriting; like it's super, super good. Grok is really great at creating like software. It can write you code. So like for instance, I follow religiously my Full Focus planner. It's a paperback planner. I've always wished that there was a digital version. There's not. I went into Grok and I took like 2 hours of an evening and I told it my entire layout of my planner and what I want it to look like on my desktop. And it built me a web app in like an hour.
Wow.
It gave me the JavaScript, the HTML, the CSS. I plugged it into a server and it gave me a perfect app for planning my schedule out, that integrated with my Google Calendar, that integrated my tasks. I'm not a software developer. I don't know anything about software, but I copy and pasted its code into a private server and created a web app in 2 hours. It's insane. So Grok's great with stuff like that. ChatGPT is getting better and better, but it largely doesn't do extraordinarily well yet with like creating images, although there are certain plugins that you can use to do that better. It's just great for
Is Chatbot the same as ChatGPT or
No.
a different one?
No,
Because
so
Chatbot's actually very good at image generation.
Yes, but that's a different part of it.
Got it,
Yeah,
okay.
and they're getting better and better, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
my
So wait. I can tell them what kind of image I want, and it will create.
All right. So let's
graphic
try
for
this.
me?
Okay.
Yes.
So I have like a Chatbot app subscription, so I can use as much as I want to use. And honestly, I got it because it's the most basic version. Like generally, it's decent about everything, but probably doesn't specialize. Give me an image that you want to see created. Just an idea.
Chelsea Football Club winning the Champions League.
with Pastor Jeff as the goalie.
Okay, I did have this experience while you're typing that in, where David Rosenblum, who came to lead worship here at the Ignite conference, in the green room before one of the services, told one of these, I don't know which one, to write a song about me, Emmy, and the Chelsea Football Club. And then he told the genre of music. It was amazing.
Yeah,
in like
it is
10
amazing.
seconds.
It is amazing.
It had written a country version, a rock version.
Yes.
I still have the one on my phone. I listen to it every once in a while.
Yeah.
So it wrote a song, like a decent song. Like
It
not
does
crappy
such a
song.
good job, and that's all on like the language side of things. So what's this image? Did it pop it out yet?
It's almost I substituted with a priest as the goalie because I feel like it wouldn't know who Pastor Jeff is. Maybe I'm not trusting in it enough. I don't know.
Okay, so let's see the on the spot.
Okay, there you go. Wow, so a cartoon version. And then there's a picture version too.
There's your picture version.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is remarkable.
Wow.
And
Okay.
the thing about AI, to use like a kind of tangential example, I feel like it's really hard sometimes to overcome like brand perception when something doesn't go right. So you see this in cars, right? Like Dodges have like this perception that's really hard for them to get over, that they're not reliable vehicles. Sorry for anybody that owns a Dodge, right? They're just known for depreciating in value.
Yeah.
Who knows if that's actually true for the cars on the line?
Dodge
right
and
now.
Ford, yeah, unless it's trucks, but I wouldn't want to own a
Same.
Ford.
I wouldn't
you know.
either, right?
Right.
Because cars in the early 2000s and 2010s they're known for their transmissions going bad.
Right.
But if they fix that in the last couple of years, the perception's still there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So you're seeing that like crazy with AI, where somebody might have used ChatGPT even 6 months ago. The ChatGPT you have now is entirely different.
Crazy.
The image models that somebody might have tried 6 months ago and say, well, yeah, but it's not really good with like hands. That was the argument for the longest time. It doesn't do hands well.
Yeah.
It does now.
Does it really? So Matt, our producer, showed me videos of footage, and the footage looks amazing until you see their hands, and it's scary.
Yes.
They have
Okay.
like their hands are like bending
And
backwards.
there's this
It's
whole
weird.
reason why, because it's combing the web for other examples, and it has billions of faces to pull from, and eyeballs and ears, but for whatever reason, there's not a lot of isolated hands for it to pull from, and it has a hard time. But even that issue is being solved.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I can tell when it's AI. Maybe like 6 months ago. Not
Yeah.
now. You
Okay,
cannot
so
tell.
let me give a recommendation that producer Matt showed us. What is it called? The Bible through AI? What do you call it?
The YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have Bible AI.
Bible AI Project?
I think so.
You can link it. Okay. It is the craziest looking thing. It's all AI based images. Occasionally it's hilarious because it's like, that is so.
So maybe producer Matt, if you can throw it on the screen for us at some point as we're talking.
You can
Yeah.
look it up. Just that trailer you showed where it was like, it was the whole Bible and it shows the Adam and Eve thing with the snake and then it's Pharaoh. You know what I'm talking about, Matt? That trailer? Okay, we'll find this. It's crazy.
Okay.
If you've never seen this before,
have
it's
not.
wild. We're going to get into the tension of how do we use this and
Yes.
maybe the impact that it's going to have on the workforce industry, which is a little different than maybe how it will work in ministry. I think it's still going to have a big impact, but I think so we'll talk about all this.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure we've like laid our base and found. Do you feel like you have a better understanding?
Okay,
of
so
this?
I just said this before we started the podcast. I know the least about this particular topic of any topic we've covered on the podcast. I will probably sit and listen to a lot of this and ask stupid questions for our older audience members in case that they're missing something. But you guys talk. I want to listen.
Okay, so I want to explain what I think the power of AI is, because
Please.
a lot of people are kind of using it in like cute little ways that slightly increase efficiency, right? Like
Google
I wrote-
searches. That's how I was using it. a while,
Exactly.
yeah.
I don't Google search anything anymore, which
Sure.
we can get into a whole other thing about how that's going to reshape SEO and the Google landscape, right?
Sure,
Because I
sure,
haven't Googled anything in like 3 months. I have chat on my phone and I actually
You
tell
don't
it.
Google stuff?
No,
Oh.
because chat has on the way here, I was just, I get super curious about things like in history or
Is
just
chat an app?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. All right, so I use it to help me with creative sermon and series titles. That's all I use it for so far. Although I did use it in a sermon just recently saying, you know, what are the reasons for identity crisis? And
Yes.
it gave me some. Anyway,
But I'm going to try not to take us off on tangents, but you're kind of a history guy, right? You told me once that you try to read books from every president.
yeah.
So you're thinking about a president and you're curious about something, you can pull out your GPT app and be like, hey, J. Edgar Hoover or whatever. when was he born and what exactly did he do? J. Edgar Hoover, it'll read it back to you. Tell you niche information about that person.
Okay.
And sometimes it's very wrong.
Sometimes, but even that, I just want to challenge. Yes, it can be.
Sure.
But that's getting better and better.
It is
and better
getting
every
Well,
month.
how
I
can
actually-
it be wrong if it's pulling?
It can
from,
get dates. That's okay. It used to, and it still can. It's getting a lot better. It used to like crush certain things, like blow your mind, and then get like, oh, it was actually December 10th, not December 7th. You know, like random little facts wrong, which is bad.
Sure.
But yeah, that's
Well,
getting
so
better.
as around Christmas time, I was preaching a sermon and I was looking about like famous lighthouses, and it was like combining weird historical events that didn't happen together to like tell me. So I was like, what are some stories about a lighthouse that saved thousands of lives because of, you know, like in a storm or whatever? And it would just like pull. It felt like an image generator. It was like pulling certain things from history and like combining them almost with what felt like fictional elements, and then it would tell me it's a historical thing. So then I'd be like, okay, let me actually Google search this just to verify. And it's like, no, that never happened. Like, this is what this was, and
Totally.
this is what this was.
So
So that was months ago. I get that it's improving quickly.
Yes.
But that was my former experience. And I have noticed it, but until you told me like it's rapidly learning, I wouldn't have known it's upgrading that quickly.
yeah, so that's maybe one challenge is like keep in mind that car analogy. The Dodge today might not be the Dodge of your father 10 years ago who told you never to buy a Dodge. That might not be true today.
Right.
Especially for AI as it changes. I mean, there's a new learning language model within ChatGPT, 2.0, 3.5, 3.5 Turbo, 4.0. There's all of these kind of upgrades that are happening all the time and making it better and better. So I was with you, like I'm putting my head in the sand, like, this isn't going to do it. It's going to do it.
Yeah, I believe
It's
it.
just a matter of time.
We have that video.
Let's do it.
Do you want to quickly see this? Here we go. This is all AI.
This is the Garden of Eden.
If the Bible had a movie trailer.
If the Bible had a movie trailer.
These aren't real actors. Just so you know, Deb. This is all AI generated people.
Wow.
It's remarkable.
Come on. That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
I almost have like a tear in my eye.
Yeah.
I know, really. Let's go see that movie.
Isn't that awesome? That's crazy. I think they have to do so much editing though, because so then Matt was showing me other clips, and like some of them are really funny looking. Like it's like as their faces turn, you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
like like the head. I don't know, but that's where
Even
it's getting
still,
to.
yeah.
I mean, that would have cost like $50,000 at least.
More than
to
that.
produce.
That's probably in the millions.
I mean, crazy. So
Yeah.
even if you have to edit it a few times and it's like, oh, that got that face wrong, that looked weird, and you've got to regenerate it. Like, still, holy
Okay.
crap, that was
I'm
awesome.
seriously impressed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's the little ways to use it that we can talk about, like how it can help you outline a sermon or take your sermons and break them down into bite-sized pieces, or apply it to other content. and
Yeah,
stuff
so
like
I
that.
just saw that. So someone sent me an email saying, "What are you doing this week to take your Easter sermon and use AI to generate follow-up like messages,
Anything. Anything.
images, social media posts, those kind of things?"
So there's a lot of pastors, maybe not a lot. There's several pastors around the world that I know that create like mini books for their series. You just take your 4 series within, or your 4 sermons within that series, and you can generate a book out of it.
Through AI?
Yes.
Wow.
And it can do like 80% of the work, and then you send it off to Bethany to proof, and it's there, you know? So, I mean, you could theoretically have
having
an
written
ebook.
it the other way, that sounds like a blast.
Sad for ghostwriters.
Yeah.
It is a sad day for ghostwriters. It's a sad day for copywriters.
So
let's leave the fanboy stage and let's
Sure.
move into what are the hesitations.
Wait.
Well,
Or okay, you take us, Dave.
Sorry, you can go first.
okay, so I just want to explain. This goes well beyond though just using ChatGPT, because
Yes.
there's a couple other foundational elements that we're spending thousands of dollars on right now as a company with developers and trying to build this out, because it goes well beyond just here's my sermon, create some notes out of it, or create a small group curriculum out of it. That stuff's easy. We can talk about it. The real power comes in when you're starting to create custom GPTs, AI agents, and then, make or innate in workflows that build automations based off
Say
of
that
those
in
things.
layman's terms.
So, right, I need to explain kind of all of the terminology real quickly. All right, a custom GPT is like a custom database where you're telling the learning language model not to pull from the web, but to pull from your own content. So this would be where you take every book you've ever written, you take the manuscripts, you give it some videos, it'll transcribe them, you give it sermon notes, it learns you.
Oh my.
It learns your voice, it learns the way that you write, and then it generates content based off of that. And you can weight it.
So I could be dead and I could still be preaching.
100%. And that's how the church that you use as an example in Texas, right?
Yeah.
That's what they did. They built a custom GPT based off of all their SOPs and FAQs and content that they've created. So
SOP
that you,
meaning
like a standard operating procedure,
Okay,
like a
right.
document
Yeah,
that shows your voice and tonality.
all
and
their
the way that you
language
write.
they've ever written and documented. They now have it integrated in this AI that is able to reproduce what they would say.
Yes, and then the chatbot isn't pulling from the web like ChatGPT is. It's
Right.
pulling from the custom database, the custom GPT. And then when they ask a question, it's pulling from those documents. And I won't mention his name, but there's a really big leader in America right now that created an app that's like Ask His Name. It's just called that. And he uploaded all of his books, all of his content, whatever, and you just ask it for business advice, and it will tell you what he would say. And he said with 99% accuracy, and it's in his voice, by the way, because that can be AI generated, in his voice, in his dictation, or in his diction and tonality. Hey, I've got this much in EBITDA or profit, and I have this problem with an employee. What would you do? And it will tell you what he would do. And he says, that's exactly what I would say.
Wow.
So that's where the power comes in. And then with these make models, what you can do is say, take from this database and do a long strand of automations. Because what chat is not great at, what AI is not great at, is doing multiple tasks right now. But if you can tell it to do specific tasks through an agent, which is what an agent is, you're saying you do one thing only. You are an SEO agent. So your only job is to crawl my competitors' websites or other church websites, bring back what long tail keywords they're using in their website, and tell me what I'm not using in my website that I can write content against.
Sure.
Or go do market research for me and bring back information that I should include in my blogs to reach my target market better.
Essentially, it's boosting how easy it is to find you on the web by comparing to what other people are doing that boosts their website.
Yes,
Correct.
but what I'm interested in, and I think this is where it actually most applies to churches, where it can bring operational efficiency with the way that we create content, is then you can take like 5 or 6 AI agents that are all doing specific tasks. You're an SEO agent, you're a market research agent, or a research agent for
Just
a
like
sermon.
what we've hired you guys to do.
Right?
No, that's what freaks you out.
It does freak me out.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it does. Yes. We'll put that on a shelf. No, you're exactly right. Then you have an agent you're a copywriter, you're a content writer, and then you create an agent that you're a proofreader. All you're doing is looking for historical inaccuracies, grammar errors, or whatever. And what we can do, we've already got a make model built out that does this. We can take a spreadsheet of like 10 content ideas, feed it to an SEO agent, bring back long tail keywords that need to be included, write a blog article, include it with meta tags for SEO that from the first findings, proof it, post it to the website, like 10 blogs in like maybe 2 minutes.
Wow.
And it can generate the images for us with dynamic content and backgrounds. It's absolutely amazing. So that's how the church did that. right? Is they're creating these automated workflows, and that's where the power is.
So here's there's one spot I want to go. I'm sorry, I keep like shutting you down.
No, it's fine.
No, but here's what I want to paint, because I think the ethics and the questions as far as how we use this, it's set up better if we start here. When we look as far as where the world is going to go in 5 or 10 years, when you're thinking of the invention of the internet, or like less or so smartphones. Like I remember being like, I'm never going to need a smartphone. You know what I mean? When I saw my flip phone, and then everybody has them. So I think it's easier to see the dilemmas, or not even dilemmas. It'll be opportunities as well. But the changing landscape that we're going to have tension with if we sort of project a little bit. So can you, with using as little technical terminology as possible, like just paint what the job market might look like, how this will affect everyday life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think things like proofing are going to become a lot easier. Things like even proofing contracts, it's extraordinarily
What
good
is proofing contracts?
Looking for discrepancies. It's not just grammar errors. Like you can give it a pretty complex legal document, and it'll tell you if there are contradictions or if your terms are right, and tell you what you should include to protect yourself more.
Okay, yep.
So there's stuff like that. So again, it gets really good at projections. You can feed it like your financial statement and ask it to run projections for you, and it will do a phenomenal job at running projections on how it thinks your tithe's going to do, or how the market might affect those types of things, or look for errors in the financial data. Like it can do all of that.
The way students are doing homework right now are often they're having AI write book reports, and it's often pretty hard to catch those things. And so right now it's being adapted into a lot of curriculums. Like it's like some people think of it like a calculator. Like before you used to do everything longhand, you know what I mean? Like with the pencil, but now you can use calculator. So you're always going to have AI. Let's incorporate. I mean, it seems like it's a global landscape. Certain jobs are going to totally vanish if it keeps going this way, because it's going to automate certain processes. With all of that said, I think now, I hope I didn't do a bad job with this. I'm trying to set it up where anybody can understand where we're going. Now I think let's get into how does this affect the church world, with less conceptual things like projections, but I'm talking about what pastors do, or what Christians are going to, in general, have. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. So I have 4 church examples of how they're using AI.
Okay.
Right. And AI got this for me, and I confirmed it. Okay. So Life.Church, for example, they have implemented AI in their YouVersion Bible app to create custom specific Bible plans for you based off of AI. Right. So it no longer is dependent on people like us. Wow. We just did an YouVersion curriculum. We had to write it. We had to go to the studio, film it. A lot of that stuff might not change, but we created that specific Bible plan for a specific purpose. Yeah. They're developing this out with AI where you can plug in what you want to know, and it's developing this plan for you on the spot. That's a huge implication.
So it's customizable.
Yeah, and I can see that going into small group curriculum where, we're not having to go out and find it. We can literally develop it ourselves with AI like that. You want something on divorcees and what the Bible has to say about your future, done.
So it's speed. That's one thing you gain. And it's a greater higher of quality in terms of analysis or accuracy in terms of.
But the weird thing is, you just saw that video. So when it starts to be able to write content and it can make images that quickly, you can develop video teachings that are with an AI generated person.
100%. I mean, and we know we were working with a company that their whole idea was the Bible on TikTok.
Yeah,
they were going to do the whole Bible, and I forget how it matches up, but it's like, a 2-minute TikTok clip a day, or 2 of them a day, you can have the whole Bible. And that was going to be like millions of dollars to film all the stuff and to write all the stuff, where this could probably do it like in a matter of a couple months.
It's crazy.
So do you think there'll be a counter reaction to this? Like this will become so common, this imagery and everything, that people are like,
I hope so.
That people are sort of like, I'm so tired of that AI generated stuff. I want a real human being.
It's hard to tell the difference sometimes.
Because, okay, you could play that for me. I'm in awe of it. It's wonderful. But 10 years from now, I won't be in awe of that anymore.
No, true.
Right? I'll be like, okay, I've seen that already.
But 10 years from now, it's going to be exponentially better.
But how much better can the special effects of a video get to where it qualitatively changes my life?
It might
Do you know what I mean?
But you might not be able to tell the difference
I might
between a real
actually find
film.
myself saying, I want to unplug from this because I want face-to-face real relationships with people.
Well, I think that won't change. I think the face-to-face stuff will change.
Even like, okay, you laughed. I said, don't we hire you for that? But in some places, I would rather have a human. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Okay, maybe not proofreading, unless the proofreader is somebody that I enjoy interacting with because out of their creativity comes something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't think that'll be removed. But like in that case with your proofreader, rather than spending 50% of the time proofreading the
you have a
document,
conversations about something else.
all that's done.
So it
exactly.
specializes even the human interactions.
Yeah, I think a term that you're going to hear a lot more is like prompt engineer. I think companies and organizations are going to have more prompt engineers, and we just learn to work with it. Because one very important principle about AI, the output is only as good as the input. And it's not as simple as asking it something. You got to know how to ask it how to give it its proper parameters, because that will greatly determine the output. And so people are going to get good at learning how to work with the machine.
Okay. So so should preachers who preach the word become prompt engineers for their sermons?
Yeah, when it comes to research.
Okay, research. So let's dive into this piece. Should a preacher preach an AI generated message?
Well, that's really easy to write an AI generated message. And I think that's happening in a lot of places now.
Because for me, that seems like I'm crossing the line now.
I think it is crossing the line.
Why though?
Okay. So let's now get into theology when it comes to this. I think that so when it comes to answering questions, if we're doing teachings that's from, we're gonna go through all the points, in the book of Mark, major themes. We're gonna talk about the history of it. AI can generate information really well, but I think that there is since AI is not able to have an interaction with God the way that the human spirit can, there's always going to be a different level of creativity is not even just the right word. It's
anointing.
Yes, right.
Holy Spirit leadership.
Yeah, because filling in the blank, the LLM thing.
You can't tell the AI to prophesy for you.
You can't.
Because that's a spiritual gift.
It can project based on historical events, but it can't hear from God the way that a human spirit can.
Until it becomes human.
Okay, but I think it can maybe be a mix of both. Like so, and I'm not a preacher, I'm not a pastor, but I think when you're building out a sermon,
preached.
yes, and I do for God Behind Bars when we're there. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the most important cornerstones of your sermon is that sort of nugget of revelation that you have for that topic. You feel like you read something in the Word, it stood out to you, and you're like, oh man, that's really good. I want to teach on that.
Sure.
And so the last time, sorry to disappoint you, the last time I spoke at God Behind Bars a couple months ago, I had ChatGPT write out some of my outline, but I gave it what I thought was the revelation I'd received from the Word regarding a particular passage.
Totally.
So what that enabled me to do is say, hey, I saw this verse in a new light, and I want to preach on this. I think it's super good. Gave it all the things. Can you bring me some scriptural references in the Old Testament? Can you bring me a couple of illustration examples and outline this in a 5-point sermon or whatever? It did remarkably well based off of that nugget of truth.
Okay.
And so
Crazy.
It did some of the heavy lifting of like going back into the Old Testament and finding some of those references. I was able to say, I know there's a verse somewhere that says something like this. Boom, it pulled it up and drew those references for me. So now I can spend my time rather than looking for it, like digging more into that nugget of truth. So if you didn't have to spend your time doing cross-reference and validation and all those things, but you just kept digging in, or you at least let those illustrations kind of try to
There's a certain muscle you develop, though, from having to dig.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's a dilemma.
It's almost like you can become so serviced by that you don't learn what it is to wrestle.
Well, that opens up a whole door. That's going to be the same for everybody. It's going to make people stupid. It really is.
Well, so the counter, I agree with you on this topic. The counter argument would be there's a muscle you develop when you do long form division as opposed to using a calculator. Like you do start, or when you research something in a concordance as opposed to Google searching it. Like we're already using stuff that's making those mental muscles weaker.
But I'm not. Yes, and I'm not sure that's been good.
I don't know that, but where I don't like with what I don't.
I mean,
like
I'm
with,
not going back.
Yeah, sure.
Like I'm gonna keep using Google. I'm not gonna go back to my concordance. I'm just not sure I like the effect that it has, especially if it continues that way.
I agree. Okay, so Will, what I think you did, I would consider a lot of those parts to be research. Now, if I probably wouldn't want to take the AI's 5 points because for me, like the language, I've been writing sermons for I guess 12 years and preaching most weeks. So there's like the language matters, the logic. Like you can have a great sermon, but it might be different than what I feel like.
But what if it had typed in all of your previous writings and sermons so that it sounded like you?
Yeah.
So that's the part that you just added a feature to it. I would almost feel ethically that I would need to stand up and say, this sermon was co-written by me, AI, and the Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? Like, almost like in every message you say, by the way, this message is completely original. It wasn't, nothing generated this other than my own interaction with God. Or are people going to become so adapt to it that they just would assume?
I think they will. So here's
for people who are hearers, it's not an ethical quandary.
Yeah, because I use Logos, I imagine, right? To some extent.
Yeah.
Do you guys use Logos?
Sure.
Think about how much time that saves you.
Absolutely.
Going in, you don't have to, I mean, it's an insane amount of information that
Logos is a Bible software that can pull up
commentaries,
commentaries
Greek and Hebrew words.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to give a disclaimer that me and Logos wrote this.
True.
Because who cares?
Okay,
So it makes you look brilliant when you're like, well, the Greek so and so, the Greek, exactly.
You don't know Greek. Yeah, right.
Like.
Here's my issue, though. Here's my issue. So right now, I would say the method of sermon writing that I am in personally that feels like it is so much better than what I've been in before. If I could, and this is the way I probably wrote for 5-7 years. It's like I would get a idea, maybe a verse, and I have that as the core, and then I'm like grinding and writing, and I'm building out, and I'm praying it through, and then it gets done. Often I would hit these sort of like writer's block moments. I'm like, where do I want to go? And I'm like pushing, and then I'm like, okay, this feels good. Now what I do, I feel like I often hit a moment where I'm like, where do I want to go with this? And I've learned I have to pause, and I have to just like worship for a little bit, and I have to pray and let it simmer and settle. And then I'm like, this. So to me, it often feels like this is actually new revelation that my previous voice couldn't have written because it's not something I would have said. It's not like a me-generated thing. It feels like I'm like, I've never really thought about this passage in this light, but I think that this is what God's saying. And for Northside this weekend, like this is a whole, like most of my messages are like probably 50%, like legitimately time-wise, me pausing, taking prayer walks, and then I come back when I feel like I have a little more. And they're still the same build in terms of the logical progression most of the time, little tweaks here and there, but the voice sounds different. So what I feel concerned about for me, like if it's just writing, then of course it could do that. But I don't feel like what I'm doing is just writing. I feel like I'm listening. You know what I mean?
I do.
I don't know that you can replace that part.
That's a good point.
Because unless I can hear from the Holy Spirit for me, which I can't even imagine how that would ever work. I guess never say never.
No, but you stretched me a little just by what you said. Like I probably would have been more adverse to input in the sermon crafting part than what you just explained. So I'm willing to admit that I'm like behind the learning curve on this. Probably everybody is.
I think most people are.
But like I'm way behind because of my age and my adaptability at this age to technology. So what I don't want to do, because this is what happens oftentimes with older generations, is that we tend to brand anything we don't understand as evil. Mm. Do you know what I mean? And so I think we have to, my generation, have to have the humility to allow for this to emerge with people who are leading the way and trying to figure out how to adapt it without immediately reacting to it as inferior or an imposter or whatever.
A lot of my generation's reacting that way too, though. Like AI sucks. Like this is because it's
change for them too.
Yeah,
and it's happening so fast.
Yes, like Gen Alpha and Gen Z probably. It's just a part of the flow of time, and they're never gonna think of anything different. I am a cutoff where, and you, how old are you?
31.
Okay, I'm 34. You're probably there with me, where it's like it's an intentional effort. Like I actually think you're not that far behind. I think a lot of people are where you are, and that I'm trying to, educate myself so I don't, get there too. But so I think I think that's really common.
Yeah.
And I would be there too if my livelihood didn't depend on it.
Okay. So let me ask this question if I can.
Please.
What's the dangers to society? Because I always say AI is either this huge global event that's going to terrify everything and take over, or it's Y2K. Y2K, which was in my generation, everyone expected that, when we changed the calendar to 4 digits, that all computers would shut down. And I actually found a tape in my old collection of tapes from here, Allison Park. We had a whole night of planning at Allison Park on what to do when the world shuts down. You come to the church, here's where you get your supplies. Seriously. So we were prepared for COVID, basically. What became COVID, we were prepared for that. And then we all woke up on New Year's Day and it was like, nothing happened. Like, is AI Y2K? It's like, it's this evil thing that's were you the one that's telling me that these two different AIs were assigned to talk to each other, and within like a day they created their own language and they were speaking to each other or something like that? Was that
No,
you?
I didn't tell you that, but that
okay.
is true.
Yeah. So
And they
it's
had to
like,
shut it down.
like all of a sudden they're gonna like
That's crazy.
Yeah, like
It's crazy.
like a movie. This evil thing's gonna come and they're gonna decide what's best for the human race and kill us all. Like, is that? Are we looking at something that's no thing? Like it's just all hype, all the dangers.
I think it's the internet is what I think the most comparable thing is.
Just
Okay.
probably multiplied. Quite a
Okay,
bit.
so the internet has a lot of good and a lot of really bad, but it isn't gonna be the end of all humanity.
I don't think it's going to be the end of all humanity. I know he's extremely politically charged right now, but Elon Musk talked about this really, really well. And his most optimistic view is 80% chance that this is going to be not detrimental for humanity.
Okay, so
the
there's a
20% chance that we are literally like on a path toward the Terminator.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's just say Y2K was way more like 80-20 the other way. Everyone was convinced the world was,
sure.
At Y2K, everyone thought the world was ending.
Where it's going to be detrimental is people are going to lose their jobs.
Yes.
Copywriters, I think, proofreaders, a lot of administrative tasks.
I wonder if those like court typer people that are.
Yep, because AI can do it.
Right.
They can do it. Which
So
By the
much
way,
easier.
will we stop learning languages too? I saw somebody had like a deal in their ear and they went into a different country and everything that was said got interpreted
yeah, it's
them,
remarkably fast.
so that it was like having a translator in your head.
Yes, which actually to time out right there, one of the key ways that I think churches can implement this is with language translations.
Oh,
it
so
can take
interesting.
your sermon and translate it like pretty immediately into whatever language. So you could set up kind of like rooms like we have for moms or whatever. You could set up rooms where you could go in.
By the way, about a year ago now, Johannes paid to have a version of himself created. What do you call that? An avatar?
yeah,
So that it could take his books and translate them into Swahili.
yeah.
So he could teach in Swahili, which he said was kind of a risky thing back then because then it could be counterfeited.
Yep.
And he could be made to say things that he didn't really say.
I feel like anybody's gonna be able to do that. For
It still
anybody
was like
soon.
very like robotic. It didn't have a flow, but technically could not be the case too. Where,
Yeah,
like, it
and
could
it
take
is.
my sermon and translate it into every language on earth.
Like literally right now so easily. And so we work for another nonprofit and they translate materials all over the place. And it used to be a whole big long process. You got to find somebody in that region and with that native tongue to translate whatever it is,
Wow.
whether it be a book or whatever.
So we have the Revival Church International, which is a Swahili speaking congregation. I could preach a sermon on video,
yes,
have it translated in Swahili and played
Dubbed.
on the screen,
everything.
and they would be able to understand me
100%.
now.
Yes. Like we developed the custom software to help with this customer, and we were able to take our e-courses, books, whatever it might be, and we can plug it into this software, and line by line, it translates it into whatever you want. Mandarin, Khmer for the Cambodians,
Crazy.
whatever, immediately.
Producer Matt had a projection of what he thinks this is going to do to the world. I don't know if you've seen Wall-E.
Yeah.
What is this? No, explain it to me. What is
This is Wall-E. You ever seen the Pixar
No,
movie
I've,
Wall-E? It says robot right here, and the humans are all
Fat.
super fat. They just float around on these seats that take them everywhere and feed them food and keep them perpetually entertained and stuff.
Or maybe
and they're stupid. They're really, really dumb.
Or the Matrix would be another.
Yeah, well,
idea.
that feels. I mean, that's that you could see how it would get there really easily.
Yes.
Okay, so let's. Can we assume that this episode is coming after the one we just recorded?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So it'll already been announced, but I'm obviously planning a church in Jacksonville, Florida. Here's one of the things that I've had a big question that I've been ineffectively researching that maybe you can help. And I think this is probably a question that's more for leaders. Like, what are immediate things that without special skills can be automated that would be helpful for productivity for any kind of leader? But I'm thinking specifically for me as a church planter, like, or for you, Dad. Like, what are some things right now that you're like, here's suggestions without having the skills to, what did you call them, a prompt engineer, or to build your own software to automate your voice? Like, what can somebody do now? Or what are ideas that you've seen or used that would help boost productivity, efficiency, help with leadership, some things people wouldn't be thinking of?
Yeah, so if I was starting from nothing, I would start to look for technology sorry to use another term, like in my CRM. Every church has a CRM, whether it be like Planning Center or something to track where...
CRM is like
a customer relationship management tool.
Okay, so
right?
It's a database that keeps all of the information of the people that go to your church. Got it.
And finding one that integrates well with AI so that it can automate first-time guest experiences and emails and all that kind of stuff. All that can be automated now.
Yeah.
Completely automated. For you, market research. How many people are in this town? And I'm sure the network's going to provide you with some of that stuff, but you can do it yourself.
Sure.
You can say, hey, I'm going to Jacksonville. How many people are in Jacksonville? How many people are in Jacksonville that are between the ages of 25 and 35? How many people are in this particular zip code? What are the issues historically with this zip code that
Can it do that all well right now?
Yes.
Huh, wow. Crazy.
You got to use the right LLM. Some of them are different. I found Grok to be
LLM.
learning language model.
Okay.
ChatGPT is not all there is about AI. There's multiple ChatGPTs.
Can we put in the show notes, producer Matt, the things that Will had mentioned? The other ones, would you call them Grok?
Grok, that's Elon's. And then Claude is another one that's super good.
What's really scary to me is that Elon Musk, who's maybe the smartest man alive today, says there's a 20% chance this could be really bad. I'm going to have a hard time sleeping tonight on that one.
It's not hard to imagine. I mean, look at how much has happened in the last year.
Yeah.
It's insane.
So like it would aim weapon systems at us and blow us to pieces.
Who knows?
Or start a virus or...
Who knows?
That's really creepy.
It is really creepy.
I'd rather be the fat kid in the...
Wall-E.
Yeah, than the Matrix.
You've seen Wall-E, right? You've never seen Wall-E?
I don't think I have.
It's old. It's like 2004.
I stopped watching kids movies when I stopped having kids that like
You
to watch
still had
kids
kids
movies.
at the time. This is like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I probably...
Anyway.
So
worn out.
another thing with launching, you're going to want to launch with a lot of materials too, right? To start getting the name out there, yourself out there, establishing yourself as a thought leader, as a spiritual leader in a town you've not really ever been in.
Right.
We're going to help you with some of the brand stand up and stuff like that. But
you're going to be my sensei, my AI sensei.
AI can help you get so much further. You could go in there with books and with all kinds of Bible reading plans and small group curriculum and just smash it from the onset.
Here we go. Yeah, I can't wait. We're going full, what do they say? Full arms live or whatever. I can't remember the term. Can't wait. Yeah. Okay. So I feel like there's going to be, over the next several years, a bunch of topics that are like this that probably become, like, I don't know if ethical questions is the right word, but things to work through because this is a brand new piece of technology. I feel a little dry though. Like, so I think I get this better than what I did before. Is there anything that's on either of your minds, like concerns, big questions, opportunities that feel like, do you know what I'm saying? Especially from a church perspective.
So I would just say, I wonder if Allison Park Leadership Network could be a thought leader in this way, in that, would it be possible for us to create a site on our webpage with a quick tutorial and 5 or 10 basic ways you could use AI to benefit your church? Is that out there somewhere? Maybe we just ask
I'm
AI
sure
to
it's
do
out
that.
there, but we could create it ourselves and it could literally happen
AI
pretty
could create
quickly.
it for us.
Yeah, 100%.
That actually might be worth a worthy objective coming out of this. And then maybe, I don't know, so we have a lot of people who listen to this who aren't pastors or leading anything. They're just church members. What could an everyday person who's trying to let's say, build their faith, is there any ways that this AI thing you mentioned a couple, like a customized program or how to read the Bible. Is there anything that you would say this could help you spiritually, or this might help you in your career, or anything like that?
Yeah, and I think it's just reiterating two of the things and maybe expounding a little bit. So Church Home, for example, has a pastor bot that is...
what is Church Home?
Church Home is...
Judah Smith.
Judah Smith.
Okay.
Judah Smith. All his sermons, all his books, whatever, you can ask Judah anything you want.
Okay.
It's his voice, but it's not him, so it's like, Judah, man, I'm struggling with shame. What do you have to say about that? And he would tell you what he said about it from his past sermon. So, I mean, that sounds crazy, but people are doing it. For me, to be honest,
you're saying it might be good for the church to try to find out tools.
We should just make you a pastor bot.
Yeah,
you have
100%.
almost 40 years of messages at this point.
Yeah.
That would be really easy to plug into something.
Yeah, ask Pastor Jeff.
Okay,
we should do it.
Button, and it'll probably be extremely accurate. But there's that, and then like what I often do, like if I've got something on my mind, or if I'm struggling with something, or want to build my faith in a certain area, like sowing and reaping and giving or something like that, I'll tell it where I feel like I'm deficient or whatever, and it'll just give me back some Bible verses to be meditating on. I didn't have to go find them. It's just like, all right, you want to strengthen your faith in the area of sowing and reaping and with your generosity, here's some verses to be meditating on.
Do you think it's going to hit the medical field at all?
Oh, yeah.
Like you could say, hey, this is my body shape and body type and my blood test deals. I want to know what the best diet plan is for me to lose weight.
That's already happening. There's already entire companies that are doing that.
Wow.
Exactly. In fact, I just read an article on how
so it's
AI can
customizable to you that would help you become better.
And in general,
will it slap my hand when I want to eat something bad?
Well, that's a good question. Not yet.
Not until we invent that hand.
The Terminator.
Yeah.
It will just kill you.
Builds itself a body.
Exactly. No, there was an article. It's using AI now that they can detect like breast cancer in women like way earlier.
Wow.
Way.
If you'd have told me in 1975 when I was 11 years old that this world would exist, it would have been hard for me to even conceive. Let alone just having a phone in my hand that operates like a computer, which wasn't even anything I knew about at the time at 75.
Insane.
Like it's just so hard. People older than me that are listening to this, I know that you have to be like, what is happening to our world? It's so crazy. Things are moving so fast.
Well, and if I can give one more critique of it, because I came in wanting to push on the AI to make sure that like people don't build false perceptions of it. It's going to change every month. You got to get on the bandwagon. You just have to. Yeah. Where it's going to hurt is critical thinking, logic skills. Yeah, we already suck at that.
Applied research.
Yeah.
It does research for you, but actually taking and using it well is really different.
Yeah. And just those critical thinking skills on, it's like what you said about strengthening the muscle, about knowing where to go in the Bible, or how to draw correlations properly. That's true for everybody. Yep. Like if it's automating all of that and it's great, it's giving us 50% of our time back. We're going to be extremely weak in our logical skills.
That picture of the fat kids. Put it back up there for us, producer Matt, from WALL-E the movie. Like spiritually, or in your study of the Scripture, or even in the way that you approach perseverance in your faith, I could see how very quickly we become that.
And what that doesn't do for you, it doesn't build emotional resilience.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So like if you don't develop certain muscles, then the anxiety and depression crisis that we're in is only going to spike.
Having all the right answers to your mental health issues doesn't give you mental health.
No, it doesn't.
You have to actually make some choices that build character. No one can do that for you.
So Jordan and I were just having this conversation. He's teaching prison epistles right now on the Alice Park Leadership Academy. He was just like, it's weird because when we went to school in 2010, like you could Google some stuff. Most stuff wasn't on the internet for this. Like, so we had a whole massive library of Bible resources. It's like now somebody can just, ask everything about the book of Mark, and you'll get when it was written and all of his themes and critical articles on it or whatever. And he was like, do we even need to go to college for this anymore? And I was like, well, so you can find the information way quicker, but the applying it and using it correctly.
Yes, and integrating it into your own thoughts.
Yeah, like there are some things that are going to be irreplaceable.
Yeah,
And
spiritual warfare, tearing down
Yes.
strongholds, memorizing scripture. None of that's AI. It's got to be you.
Yeah,
Totally.
Sorry, you can keep going. Will.
No, this is so good. And so like in some of my circles, I have leaders that are really big on just give me the bullet points, right? Rather than read a book, I want the cliff notes. Just give me the biggest things. AI can do that really well, but there's still something to reading a novel, even if it's got one good nugget. Like the way it makes you feel, the way it makes you think, the way it makes you introspect and, question things like.
Yeah,
It's
the
so
movie
much more
trailer of the
solid.
Bible is not just the same as the Bible.
Right.
You know what I
Or
mean?
in that example that I gave where I was deficient in my faith in an area and I asked it to give me 5 scriptures. That was great for that day. Does it compare to me like, I want to know what God has to say about this. I'm going to dig through his word for it.
Right.
No, there's no way that can replace that digging and reading,
And maybe what differentiates us as people of excellence in the future is those that choose to build the muscles. What do you call them? The applied research muscle.
Yeah, right. Logic,
emotional,
and critical thinking.
The logic and critical thinking muscle. The resilience muscle. The endurance muscle. The empathy muscle. Like all of those things are going to still be. Maybe they'll be more important in the future because they'll be more rare.
The scary thing though is that as humanity, we are not particularly disciplined already, and it's going to be harder and harder and harder to do that because you're going to go against the grain to do that because it's going to be so easy to go the easy route. Does that make sense?
Which is why I can almost see sort of a prophetic movement of rebellion against this.
Oh, I hope that'd be great.
Like I can see people like they used to move to the desert and live in a cave and
The monastics.
or the Amish who say we will not use any technology. I could almost see reaching a place where people say, I don't want this world anymore. I want to go back to something much more human.
Yeah.
And I hope that's the case in the business world where right now you can increase your click-through rates on like ads, headlines and stuff just by putting the word AI in. It's so driven right now. So AI-driven solutions, wherever you're at. Putting that in your headline increases click-throughs and
Agree
ROAS
with
by
Matt.
50%.
I'm sure you already know that, but put it in the headline.
I hope in the future you're going to see that flip and it's like human-centered, whatever. And
Yeah,
it's
I could see that.
I would love that.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Because I feel that even now. Like a part of me inside of me says, I don't know that I want this. Like I do want it, but I don't know that I want all of it, and I'm not sure what I like. It's going to like what I think it's going to do to the
Here's
world.
the thing. Well, every time something like this happens, there's just different supplements to take for deficiencies. So there's just going to be different needs the church is going to be meeting because AI could be bad, will be bad for character in many ways. But I think what we focus on, the way we talk about it, it's just going to have to be different supplements to build, Jesus lifestyle where AI wants to cheat some of those things. Mm-hmm. So,
and can I ask you one more question? I know we're getting on
yeah.
time. We can cut this off if we want, but I want to ask you a provoking question. Why couldn't AI save someone? Why couldn't AI get someone saved?
I guess they could. I guess it was a choice of the church to say, we prefer this then to be a human interaction.
And what's your take on that? If we had a bot, if we're 12 months in the future and we do Ask Pastor Jeff or whatever, and your bot self is leading people to Jesus.
So I think if you think of salvation only as a transactional moment, that's probably possible. But if you think of it as a discipleship journey, you need a human for that.
yeah, but the thing, I've been thinking about this since our conversation at Longhorn. The salvation moment could occur on a bot, and then you could pass off to somebody for discipleship. There's definitely going to be
That's
a line.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if
A bot
all
probably couldn't
you
disciple
had,
well.
you were,
I think it could say the right things, but there is a certain human-to-human interaction that is going to need a physical presence.
it's not the greatest conversion story.
It's really
I was
not.
in my basement and I was talking to the bot.
Well, it sounds bad now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, tracks get people saved. Or
No,
they got
I
them
know,
saved
I
back
know.
in the
It's
day.
true.
Books
You're
get
right,
people
you're right.
saved.
It is like
I'm
a trap.
probably having an
Yeah.
old-fashioned reaction to it.
I have that reaction internally, but I'm like, well, if that's going to spread the gospel better.
Yeah.
And
But I get why the church would say, pass that off to us because we
Yes.
want to handle that.
I
get
do
that.
too. I do too.
I'm not saying that it's not possible. It may be preferred for it to be a human to human.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
That's really good. Yeah, I think this is a brain, like a painful brain exercise for me, because I feel like there's so many projections that go out from here. But one thing I sort of will say in closing is, I think that because this is such a thing, and it's really in its infancy. I mean, if we're talking about the scope of the lifetime of this, I do think your idea for pastors and for Christians of how we can use this as Christians in an effective way to kind of stay with the flow of the world could be a really effective tool right now for churches. Like maybe we kind of get in a flow where the Holy Spirit gives a grace and anointing, you know what I mean, for pastors to reach people more effectively. And I think regardless as to what happens, even in that 20% Elon Musk scenario, like we have to trust that God is working through this and that he's going to bring something out of this. So I don't know. My brain hurts, but I do trust that God's in the middle of all of it.
Thank you, Wolf. This
Thank you.
is
Appreciate
great.
you, man. Yeah.
And again, if you want to find out more about what Endosha does currently, we don't know what it will do in the future.
Before they become prompt engineers, everybody.
No, seriously, Will has been an incredible asset to Allison Park Church. Endosha, ANDOCIA.com. Can't recommend it highly enough. So thank you for being on this episode.
Appreciate it. And thank you for listening. Glad that you're always a part of this conversation if you're a regular listener. If you're new, we just want to give a big shout out to you and say thanks for jumping on to be part of the Alice Park Leadership Podcast family. And we would love if you could help us out. You can do a couple of things. You can like and subscribe on YouTube, share it with a friend, leave us a 5-star review. All that helps us to share the word about what we're doing. So we appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys again next time.